we would like to I hope I'm sharing this main screen. And I just want to emphasize something around your theoretical and conceptual framework. And we agreed that we are going to fit this into chapter 1, but very, very briefly. And I would like to ask, I don't know who is on call, Dr. Mwaka, if we could have somebody just recap for us theoretical and conceptual framework, I'd be very glad.
Can we have people? Someone raised your hands?
It will make us all wake up. Yeah, Koba, thank you. And then Danisi. So let's start with Koba.
Okay. Theoretical/conceptual framework. The theoretical/conceptual framework is defined as the practice of describing the theory used by the researcher to guide the study. The researcher's choice of a well-developed theoretical perspective is grounded in the researcher's theory of the focus of inquiry. In describing the theoretical frameworks, the researcher attempts to provide the theoretical and empirical antecedents to some theoretical perspectives. Calabrese, 2009. The theoretical framework is also called a theoretical base. However, not all dissertation committees require a separate section on theoretical frameworks in Chapter 1. Every school is different, and every school has a different policy regarding this first chapter. The theoretical framework provides the foundation for the study based on theory and the prior research. Long et al. 1985, Bryant 2004, Calabrese 2009, see example 19.5. Main key points and directions. These are the main key points that the doctoral researcher should consider when developing the theoretical foundation section of Chapter 1. Find a theory or theoretical model as a basis for the study. Cite the appropriate pivotal sources for each theory or conceptual model. Discuss the basic frameworks of the theory or concept. Justify the theoretical foundation and framework as relevant to the study. Connect the study directly to the theory and provide a narrative of the connection. Describe how the study will add or extend the theory or model. For quantitative studies, have one theory for each variable. For example, use the model the survey is based on, or use the theory or model upon which the instrument is based. Distinguish between the model or theories being used for the research questions and data collection versus the background models and theories generally relevant to the study. Build a logical argument build a logical argument for how the research questions are developed based on the theoretical foundation for the study. Writing length, minimum of 2 or 3 pages, Miles 2022.
Thank you. I just want to before Koba comes in, I just want you to note that I don't want a bulky, undistilled, undeciphered chapter 2 when you'll be writing your theoretical framework in detail. In chapter 1, you make a mention. So to make a mention, you can craft a one-page description of your theoretical framework, the theories, the models that you'll use, and then show us your conceptual framework, the relationship between the variables. But even when we get to chapter 2 and we are jumping over to chapter 2 today, I don't want chapter 2. I was in a defense and somebody had given us a chapter 2 of 72 pages. I want it clear. Why am I giving you these pieces of cloth to wear? Because I want us to produce a thesis that is attractive and readable, concise. And so you will, and I repeat, you will follow very strictly the suggestions I give about the size, the pages, and you'll discover that the intention is not to rule over you. You'll discover that when you do that, you then come out with a theory, a thesis that is distilled and concise and light, and so attractive. Can somebody tell me, why isn't somebody asking, or can somebody ask? Now I'm behaving badly. I'm asking people to ask me questions. It's like when we are growing up, where I come from in Western, men that time were very brutal, those days. I think including my own father. And they would take an opportunity to beat their wives, either slap or cane or chase away. And then during the day when the women are in the shamba, some would really be complaining that my husband, I don't know why my husband doesn't beat me also. He doesn't beat me because she had Irene in the village, Irene, screaming. And so I'm not behaving like them. I'm asking, why haven't I talked about qualitative studies and a theoretical framework? Can somebody tell me why? Why am I just talking about quantitative studies when it comes to theoretical frameworks? Why? Livingston Macquarie?
Yeah, thank you, Prof. So, qualitative, a relationship between variables. So you are able to establish under quantitative relationship between independent and dependent variables. So that's where we talk about the theoretical framework.
Yeah, that's a very good answer. That's one aspect. Anybody who wants to give it another tilt? Mogute Mary? Why am I'm not saying that there's no theoretical framework, but why am I being deliberate here?
Thank you and good morning.
Morning.
As Livingston has said, it is true. The quantitative studies are grounded on theories. But when you think of qualitative studies, we go out to find out what is happening. And then based on our findings, we can propose the theories or the concepts that can inform the findings that we have had. So in qualitative studies, the theories come after we have gotten into the field and come up with facts. The facts which are going to inform formulation of concepts and theories. Thank you.
Good thinking. Danisa, you have something to add?
Good morning, Prof. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
My hand was up for reading, but I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What happens if you're using mixed methods approach? When do you then introduce the theoretical framework?
If you're using mixed methods, obviously you'll have a theory because it's quantitative plus qualitative. You get it? So there'll be the quantitative aspect, which will be anchored on a certain model or theory. And the qualitative, I just want, as a PhD class, you need to be very careful. When we go for qualitative studies, we go out there through observation and inquiry, and we come out with an idea. We don't come out with a theory, we come out with an idea, a proposal, and then we subject it to two things, to expert opinion, but also the long revered test of time. So a theory doesn't become a theory tomorrow because you have come from the field. It will have to be subjected to a lot of tests until maybe after, I'm being reasonable, maybe after 10, 20 years of operation, do people then think it is a theory worth holding to be true? So it's important as a PhD student to begin to think that way. And Danisa, because mixed has quantitative, inevitably you must search for a theory. But the important thing here, and by the way, this class ends at 8 sharp, so I'm really short of time. First of all, find a theory. Look at those bullets. Find a theory or a model. So that's what I would like you to do first. Find a theory or a model. The other thing, where do you find it? You find it in your literature review. So you must read several papers. And that's why we touch literature review because of chapter 1, as you are looking for the problem statement and the purpose and so on. But now we're going to go into details, and I'll expect you to read research done around your area and find out the theories that are operational. But look at bullet number 2. And this is the key points. This is the direction I'll want to see in your work. If you're a historian, this is how we dress up when we are doing our proposal. This is how we dress up when we are doing our final thesis. You then cite the appropriate important sources for each theory or conceptual model. Very important, citations. So as you enter into operational definitions, you begin to subject yourself and honor those who have gone before you. You cite for each theory, and then you discuss the basic framework of the theory. So if you're doing artisans, theory of plant behavior in psychology, or the chaos theory in management, whichever theory you pick, you must discuss the basic framework of theory. Now, when I say discuss the basic framework, you must begin to bring out the variables that are exciting you from that theory, the variables that are exciting you. And then you justify the theoretical foundation and framework as relevant, that this is really the framework. This is the matrix within which, this is the matrix within which I'm going to get my variables and anchor my study. And then connect the study directly to the theory and provide a narrative for the connection. And then describe how the study will add or extend the theory or model. So this is what I expect in your chapter 2. But in your chapter 1, I just expect a mention of the theory. You will cite the appropriate sources. And you'll tell me, in this theory, these variables come into play, and they lead to my conceptual framework. Then you show us the conceptual framework. Then when you go to chapter 2, you now have a big floor to dance. You can now dance and give us the details of the theory. And note that as a PhD student, begin to see why we don't actually call it, in qualitative study, we talk about the literature, the relevant literature. So obviously you can't go and study poverty or discrimination or gender bias without doing the literature. Even if you're going to observe it in Kenya or in your village, you must do the literature. Now, that is not a theoretical framework. That literature does not anchor your study. That literature informs your observations. So we need to be very careful that I wouldn't get mad with you if I found you talking about a theoretical framework in a qualitative study, but you qualify that this is the literature that deeply informed my observations. You know, this phenomenon of bullfighting, you know, it is in Kakamega, but it is also in Spain. So and there's a lot of literature on bullfighting from Spain. And you can read the literature around bullfighting in Spain, and then you now go and observe bullfighting in Jaega, Kakamega. You didn't go to Kakamega blank. So there's a lot of bullfighting in Spain, in some parts of South America, and in some parts of Africa. You can even read literature around cockfighting, because people put two cock. By the way, you have had some cock. It's not making noise. I don't know. What do they do? What do the cocks do in the morning? This cock I was given yesterday from Kahuya Girls. I was a chief guest on their prize giving day, and my DVC Washira. In Kimaragoli, we say, Yakusuminya. Really pampered me, gave me a cock, gave me yams, gave me sweet potatoes, gave me cowpeas, cassava. You know, I came back very heavy. So this cock is in town, and they had told me that cocks from the village don't crow in the cities, because they see light everywhere. So they don't. They get mesmerized. But this one is really making noise here, and I'm sure my neighbors will not be amused at all. So I'll make sure it is not alive come 10 o'clock this morning. Danisa, why am I giving you this story about the cock? and qualitative studies and lack of a theory. I know you think I'm talking about Cox from Kahuya Girls. No, I'm not. Why?
You're giving it because
I'm giving?
you're giving it because the observations and that story explains why the theory comes after, because you've already experienced what the Cox behavior and mannerisms and found that you're better off having it for dinner or lunch by today because it will cause other problems, and that's what's forming the theory that comes after, to be able to assign the appropriate theory to the topic after you've understood your topic.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. So it's not about a Coke and my DVC making me come home heavy yesterday, heavy in quotes. Yeah. Okay. Pick it up. So I want to go to assumptions, limitations, and delimitations. And I really would like the class to pay attention because this is an aspect of chapter 1. So let me recap. This is the introduction, chapter 1. We're going to do the introduction to the background of the problem. We are going to do the problem statement. We're going to do the purpose. We'll give the objectives and stroke research questions, stroke hypothesis, and then rationale and significance. And then we will talk about limitations and delimitations and assumptions. Then we'll go to the operational definitions. We'll then do the theoretical framework and the conceptual framework, and that closes chapter 1. So that's why we are doing these bits. And these are bits of a jigsaw puzzle, and you're going to tie them together as you craft your chapter 1. The thinking which I want you to start today, your area and your topic. So let's look at assumptions, limitations, and delimitations at PhD level. Please, at PhD level, or rather at an advanced level like you're doing now, just note that your delimitations is the scope. So we leave scope for the master. The master's people must have something to hold on to. So when I see you in your PhD thesis writing scope, I get worried because then you are not relating it to the validity and reliability of your findings. It's just a scope. But when you tell me a delimitation, you are educating me to know that this thing will have consequences on the validity and reliability of my findings, and therefore I must be able to explain how I'll overcome those delimitations. So they are not just words we are throwing around. And I would like us to spend some time on this one. And most of us, by the way, have a big problem with justifying the delimitation of our study. We have a lot of problems and we meander around. For example, you tell me your study will be in Nairobi County, and that is a delimitation, but you don't tell me why Nairobi County. If you don't tell me why, then I'll begin to question the validity and reliability of your findings. So I hope we will be able to go through this thoroughly. I will not do the examples. I'll give you examples as reading material because of time. But Denisa, get us going.
Okay. Assumptions, limitations, and delimitations. The assumptions, limitations, and delimitations section sets the condition for the study. For example, the assumptions are what the researcher assumes about the study. The limitations are the constraints of the study based on methodology, and the delimitations are the constraints of the study based on the population scope. In my experience, novice researchers and doctoral students still have trouble understanding these three terms and their meanings. Establishing these three terms will set the standard for the study. Long et al., 1985, Bryant, 2004, Miles and Scott, 2017. See example 19.6. Main key points and directions. These are the main key points that the doctoral researcher should consider when developing the assumptions, limitations, and delimitations section of Chapter 1. Provide a definition of the terms assumption, limitation, and delimitation at the beginning of each section. State the assumption being made in the study, methodological, theoretical, and topic specific. Provide a rationale for each assumption. Identify the limitations of the research method, design, sampling strategy, data collection approach, instruments, and data analysis. Provide a rationale for each limitation. Discuss any associated consequences for the generalizability and applicability of the findings. Identify the delimitations of the research design and any associated consequences for the generalizability and applicability of the findings. Provide a rationale for each delimitation. Writing length, a minimum of 2 to 3 paragraphs on 1 page, Miles 2022. Again, by following these key points, the researcher can fully develop the assumptions, limitations, and delimitations section of the study. See examples 19.6, 19.7, and 19.8. Limitations. In many years of work with doctoral students, I have found that there's still a prevailing confusion between the terms limitation and delimitation. I have seen this to be the case with both experienced researchers and novice researchers. Limitations are defined as constraints on the study based on the research methodology and research design. Miles and Scott, 2017. Limitations are the things the researcher cannot control because they are constraints inherent in the research methodology. See table 19.4 and example 19.6.
Okay. Let's stop there. Let's pause. Thank you very much, Denisa. Very good reading. Let me say this. It is not desirable. It is distressing to see a doctoral student, and for me, you are doctoral students, grapple with the assumptions of the study. I'll give you a common assumption I'll want you to encounter or bring out in your study. You see, when you are collecting data, particularly when you have a tool, one of the assumptions you have is that the veracity of the pronouncements of your respondents is true or can hold, because veracity is about truthfulness, can hold. Now, when you go to a school and you are interviewing a principal of a school, they might not want to tell you the reason why they are not doing well. And one of them could be the staffing profile of that school is skewed towards a certain ethnic group, for example, or a certain gender group by the leadership of the school. Now, the principal will not want to tell you that because he's a party to that. So that's that. You see, you are assuming that the principal will tell you the truth. So the veracity of his or her pronouncements, you are assuming will hold, that it is true. But then, how do you overcome that assumption? How do you ensure that what he is telling us is true? You then do triangulation. You then interview the member of the board who is in charge of academics in the school. You interview the parents association in the school, or you interview the teachers and see whether it is collaborating, what their pronouncements are collaborating. So that's an assumption you make, but you must also tell us how you'd overcome that assumption, because that assumption in itself is a limitation. The other one, of course, I want you to know that limitations are very critical in a study, like any study you do, because they then impinge on the validity and reliability of the findings. So you must search the methodology. The methodology could be a big limitation. Yeah, you are because you didn't do statistics, just because you failed in maths or you didn't do well in maths in high school, you have this mindset, I can't do statistics. So every study you want to do, you want it to be qualitative. But when we look at what you want to find out, we see you can't escape a mixed methods approach. So you see, if you use qualitative only, you will adversely affect your results, the validity and the reliability of your findings. So that becomes a big limitation. So how do you overcome that? I'm not saying you go back to Form 1 to study statistics, but how do you overcome that? So look at bullet 2. Identify the limitations of the research method, the sampling strategy, the data collection, the instruments, and the data analysis. These are what limitations are all about. They relate to the methodology. And down here, we in yellow, I'm saying limitations are defined as constraints on the study based on research methodology and research design. But the question is, why would you allow that? Why would you allow that? You'll find that limitations are things, by the way, me and you cannot control, because there are constraints that are hidden in the research methodology. They are hidden in the research methodology. Let's look at this table, the next reader. Table 19.4.
I can read.
Please go on.
Table 19.4, examples of limitations. Common quantitative limitations, research methodology, research design type, use of self-reported data, survey, time constraints, time to collect data, length of survey instrument, design of survey instrument, sampling design, random, stratified or clustering, systematic, convenience, probability sampling based, sampling bias, target population constraints, data collection modality type, survey questions type, closed-ended, survey bias, researcher misinterpretation of participant data from surveys.
Yeah. So this is a class. So when I come to look at your proposal and you're writing me limitations, please search for any of these that you think are coming through your approach to that study. Is your research methodology a limitation? Is your sampling a limitation? And we look at this when we are really looking at real case examples. How about the target population constraints? How about the data collection modality type? So as you get these class notes, I want you to file them in your database because they'll be online. But anytime you are writing your proposal, go back and ask, what is the limitation inherent in my study? But just know that limitations rotate around research methodology and research design. And we're going to look at examples later on. By the way, these notes, we are working on a manual for research methods. So we're just trying to compile what I'm calling a manual. I would like every PhD student or master's to carry this manual with them. So anytime you're writing chapter 1, you have notes, you have a manual telling you this is what should be here, like that. You're not searching a whole text. It is sequential. Okay, so go continue reading. For qualitative.
Common qualitative limitations, research methodology, research design, type, use of self-reported data, interviews, time constraints, time to interview subjects, length of studies, interview time with participants, design of interview questions, sampling design, purposive, quota, and snowball, non-probability sampling based, or non-probability sampling.
Just a minute or so go. Read me sampling design in the quantitative. Just go back here. Can you read this? Read this.
So in the common quantitative limitation, sampling design, random, stratified or clustering, systematic, convenience, probability sampling based.
Yeah. Now read this one again.
Under the common qualitative limitation, sampling design, purposive, quota, and snowball, non-probability sampling based.
Continue.
Target population constraints, data collection modality type, interview question types, open-ended, research bias, researcher misinterpretation of participant data from interviews.
Yeah, so basically, where in quantitative we are looking at closed-ended questionnaires, here you're looking at open-ended. But as my student, as my doctoral student, you make reference to these notes all the time when you are covering that section on limitations, delimitations, and assumptions. Now, let us look at this example of limitations of the study. Next reader, please. And let's volunteer quickly because of time.
I can read.
Go ahead.
Okay, limitations of the study. Limitations are comprised of the restrictions implemented by the researcher's choice of methodology. These are factors in the study that cannot be controlled by the researcher. As a basis for the study, the limitations were threefold. The first limitation in this study is the instrumentation. This study used an instrument that was closed and did not have open-ended questions. The second limitation is the data collection. This study used aggregated data that was collected from the state in a publicly accessible medium. This is limited in descriptive statistic. The last limitation was the course. Teen leadership in one of the several different character education opportunities offered throughout the state. Further investigations into other programs may offer different insights. ZEG 2 2019.
Thank you. Can you note, and I want to lift, I'm lifting you to another pedestal. When we talk about limitations, it is around research methodology. So in this one, it's around instrumentation, just an example. There is a limitation in data collection, and there could be a limitation in the whole study area. And the challenge for you as my doctoral student is to tell me, yes, these are the limitations, but this is how I overcame those limitations. Continue reading, the same reader.
Okay, delimitations, scope of the study. Delimitations are defined as constraints on your study based on the population scope, Miles and Scott, 2017. Think of delimitations as the boundaries of your study. Delimitations are defined as chiefly concerned with the scope of the study. Again, another recurring problem that doctoral students have is misunderstanding the true meaning of the delimitation. This is confusing to them, but of the generic definition of delimitations.
Because, read that sentence again.
Sorry, this is confusing to them because of the generic definition of the delimitations. The characteristics of a study in which the researcher can control the delimitations. When you write about the delimitations, the sentences should always begin as follows. This study was delimited to. You have to set the parameters of your study so that you cannot say your results are generalizable to other areas of the country or other studies with dissimilar results. You want to start off with your categories from the unit of analysis to the state of the data collections.
Yeah.
See table 19.5 and example 19.7.
Yeah. I think, and listen, students, a delimitation is related to the demographics of the study. So, for example, the area of study, the age of the respondents, the racial status. Those are delimitations. Somebody is snoring. Can somebody please can somebody, yeah. Now, delimitations are what where are the people running this course? Can you freeze that? You must set the parameters of your study. And this is something you can control. This is a delimitation is under your watch. A limitation isn't. Next reader, example. 19.7.
I'll go on.
Yeah, Juma, go ahead.
Okay, example 19.7, delimitations of the study. The delimitations of a study are those characteristics that arise from limitations in the scope of the study, defining boundaries, and by the conscious, exclusionary, and inclusionary decisions made during the development of the study plan. That's by Simon and Goes 2013. The delimitations are those characteristics that limit the scope and define the boundaries of your study. Miles and Scott 2017. The following delimitations will be present at the time this study is conducted. The study is delimited to air transportation, organization, employees, and will not assess other types of organizations in the geographical location of Puerto Rico. To mitigate the delimitation of the organizations where the study will be conducted, the researcher will collect data from the most possible air transportation companies. The study is delimited to organizations in Puerto Rico. To minimize the delimitation of the employees, the study will collect data from employees in all positions within the organization.
Yeah.
The study is delimited to floor employees, office employees, and managers at the air transportation organization site. No employees at the high leadership level, that is the CEO, vice presidents of operations, etc., will be assessed in this study. Morales 2017.
Thank you, Eska. Now, that's very good reading. Now, I hope we are beginning to see this at another level. The delimitation, and we have given an illustration here. By the way, when you do presentations or lectures internationally, you have to, be international. But I also want to challenge my PhD students. Don't be like this other university where every PhD study is in Unguja sub-county of Kisumu Rural County, is in Mumias sub-county of Ikero location. Just tell me how that sounds. In fact, I was in a defense and somebody was raising the issue. A student was doing something. So it was my student, by the way, he was doing something on social degradation and the role of the church in working towards that, overcoming that. And the examiner was very categorical, but where is this? And I got a little weary about that because we have a chapter 1 where we are going to talk about the delimitation and the assumptions. Is when we are going to say that this will be in private universities in Kenya or in universities within the Nairobi metropolis. I mean, we will have time. Now, and I want us to be very careful as PhD students. When you are doing a study that is permanently tied to a certain demographic, like, for example, disability implications to learners in Nairobi slum areas, then I have no problem in seeing that in your title, in your topic. That the variables that you're going to study are inherently linked to that space. So like if you're doing the social and cultural dynamics surrounding the Nubian people in Kibra, that's very different. Then you can, I would understand if I see that in my topic. But at PhD level, if I was a Chinese in Shanghai and I saw a thesis about mental disorders in children in Kawangware location, Dagoretti sub-county, Nairobi, Kenya, then I have a problem. I have a big problem. You see, there are topics that are, let me say, are joined at the hip with the space where your research will take place. That's different. But a lot of us localize. That's why, by the way, sometimes I wonder, is that why Africa, our output, research output, dances around 2 to 3% of the global output? I can send you to Texas A&M, their database, and look at their theses from their Africana section, the collection section. You don't find those kind of things. And I'm just asking you to be cautious. Don't be too excited to put your delimitation in your topic. We will interrogate that topic because from today, you are starting to submit topics to me and I'll make my comments, then we shall discuss them in class to reinforce the ideas that I'm putting across. Finally, assumptions. Could we have a read on that? Want to finish this? Assumptions? I want somebody who has not participated.
I can read, Prof.
Yeah, Kendi, Frida, please go on.
Okay, thank you. Assumptions can be defined as things that are somewhat out of your control, but if they disappeared, your study would become irrelevant. Aband 1973, Simon 2011, Simon and Goes 2013. Another definition of an assumption is an examined belief that the researcher brings to the study and that is accepted as being valid. Bryant 2004. General types of assumptions. When considering the assumptions, the researcher should list the major assumptions underlying the study. Here are some general types of assumptions. Behavior is characterized by some degree of consistency. The behavior of interest is observable and properly measured. All individuals in a group benefit equally from a group treatment. Subjects have the ability to report their perceptions accurately. The time allotted for the treatment is adequate to produce the desired effect. All the important variables influencing the dependent variable have been controlled or explicitly included in the design. Student achievement is a function of both in school and out of school factors. Long et al. 1985. See example 19.8.
Yeah. Pause there.
Okay.
Are you seeing assumptions? Behavior is characterized by some degree of consistency. So if you are dealing with drug addiction, you expect some consistency in behavior. But that's an assumption that must hold if your findings are going to be valid. that the behavior of interest is observable and properly measured. I was giving you the example of a principal who does everything at the TSC office in the county or in Nairobi to get teachers of his ethnic lining. You know, that behavior might not be easy to observe and properly measured, but you're making an assumption. You're also making an assumption that all individuals in a group benefit equally from a group treatment. Equally. Even if it is asking questions, you know, in a group, kuna wale kihelehele. Wako mbele kila wakati. So really what you are taking away from that focus group discussion is not the views of the group, but the views of 2 or 3 people. Again, that is dangerous in terms of reliability and validity. And then subjects have the ability to report their perceptions accurately. Again, we can use that one. Subjects can report their perceptions accurately. Again, this is the veracity. So what happens? The time allocated for the treatment is adequate to produce the desired results. Again, that's an assumption. And will you be patient? I remember when my wife was doing her psychology program, the number of hours she spent in Mathare Mental Hospital and the number of hours she spent at Langata Prison. So the assumption was that whatever she was looking for, time had to be spent. Some of us don't. And that all the important variables influencing the dependent variable have been controlled or explicitly included in the design. So again, manipulation of variables. It is assumed. And this is an example. This should not be a bullet. And this is part of the example. This one, student achievement is a function of both in-school and out-of-school factors. An assumption. So can we have somebody Prof? Yes, go ahead, please.
Example 19.8, assumption of the study, or just before that, student achievement is a function of both in-school and out-of-school factors. Long et al. Now, example 19.8, assumption of the study. A school district that is the foundation of this study has a variety of races, which is represented in the teaching pool. Though there are more non-performing arts teachers than performing arts teachers in the school district, there should be a good representation as far as the data is concerned. The following assumptions are present in this study. It is assumed that the participants in this study will answer the survey as honestly as possible. It is assumed that the participants will be mentally capable of answering and completing the survey. It is assumed that the participants have the background and experience to answer and complete the survey. It is assumed that the participants are employed as teachers in the K-12 school system in the area where the study is being conducted. Jefferson, 2021.
Yeah, pause there. Those are assumptions. So how do you overcome assumption bullet number 1? It is assumed that the participants in the study will answer the survey as honestly as possible. So you have to do triangulation, like hold a focus group or interview the deputy, not the principal. Again, we are assuming these people are mentally capable. They have the intellectual capacity, they understand. And we hope that your questionnaire is not full of jargon. And then you are assuming that all of them have a certain level of knowledge of what you're trying to ask them. And then you assume that the participants are all high school teachers employed by the Teacher Service Commission. So those are the assumptions of the study, and you have seen what we are saying here. Let us go to end with significance of the study. Another reader.
We can go.
Go ahead.
Significance of the study. Significance is an explanation of why the proposed study is important and why it represents a potential contribution to the field. Its emphasis should be on why the study is worthwhile. Webster 1998b. The significance of the study is your argument as to why the study makes a significant and original contribution to the profession, the scholarly literature, and your discipline. The significance of a study answers questions related to why the topic is worth studying. Calabrese, 2006. The significance of a study describes why the study is important. Please scroll down.
I want you to note that it's about the why. Why are you doing this study? What is the usefulness? What would happen if you did not? And if it's a contribution, who will partake of it? The significance of a study answers questions related to why the topic is worth studying and why the topic is important. Continue.
There are three types of significance of a study. A, theoretical significance, B, practical significance, and C, research significance. Of the three types of significance, the researcher provides arguments for the theoretical contributions that should be developed from literature. Long et al., 1985, Miles and Scott, 2017. There are, main key points and directions. There are main key points that the doctoral researcher should consider when developing the significance of study section of chapter 1. Number 1, describe how the research fits with and will contribute to or advance the current literature, body of research, or body of knowledge. 2, describe the significance of the study, theoretical, practical, or research. Describe the contributions of the study, theoretical/conceptual, empirical, or methodological. See chapter 12 for more on this. Describe the potential applications of the researchers for. And 5, identify the theory or theories or model that provide the theoretical foundations or conceptual frameworks for the study. And 6, connect the study directly to the theory and describe how the study will add or extend the theory or model. And lastly, describe how addressing the problem will add value to the population, community, or society.
Yes. So we now know what Ayiro expects of us in the significance of the study area. I would want you to do some reading around the rationale of the study, the so what. So what? If we didn't do this study, will the world come to an end? The so what. But the significance is the why. And I want some of you to now move to another level where, in terms of significance of the study, we're talking about theoretical, conceptual, empirical, or methodological significance, the contribution, and the practical applications. So I don't want to see this in my PhD proposals. Significance of the study. This study will be significant and it will be useful to teachers, mothers, and church pastors. Full stop. You are not telling me anything, not at this level. You are not telling me anything, not at this level. And please take me seriously as you craft the significance of your study. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take down the following on chapter 1. Write chapter 1, either chapter ONE or chapter and not Roman 1. What do you call it? Number 1. That is chapter 1. Then enter, and so 10 is chapter 1. Enter and let me put it clear. I hope we are following this. I wish I was doing this on our PowerPoint. But basically, can you center this here, like this, in caps? Center this in caps, like that. Chapter 1, like that. That, and call it introduction. Introduction. Chapter 1, introduction. You can either put it that way, or you can center this and do chapter 1 like that. Chapter 1, then enter and come and write introduction like that. So this is how I would like to see that happen. Sorry. Like that. And this is centered. So, and so you can boldly say, from the APA nomenclature, this is 10, chapter 1. Then you'll come here and write 1.1 like that. And this is you can say this is introduction to the background of the study, like that. This is what I would like to see, sorry. Introduction to the background of the study. So this is not chapter 1 introduction, then you write introduction. Then 1.2 will be your problem statement. Like that. Then 1.3 will be your purpose. Your purpose. Like that. Then 1.4, call them I would love to start with, I don't know, but I would like us to start with this. I don't know what your book, your graduate book says, but this should be your objectives. Objectives, stroke, research questions, research questions, stroke, hypothesis, hypothesis, rationale, significance, assumptions, delimitation, and limitations. Operational definitions. Operational definitions. Theoretical frameworks. Let me put it this way. Sorry. Let's just put it this way. Theoretical stroke. I know why I'm doing this. Theoretical stroke conceptual frameworks. This is conceptual framework sorry, diagram. Conceptual framework diagram. This is what I expect to see in your chapter 1. And I've given you the pages of all this. So I would like to see a very thin, succinct, fluid chapter 1 in Kiswahili. I know Denise will have a problem in Kiswahili, ambayo inapepea. One that is floating in the mind of Ayiro as he marks your chapter. Allow me to use the next half an hour to introduce the literature review, but this is what I want from you. This is what I want from you. And please take note of this. I want you, number one, actually, I'm having a problem with my keyboard. That's why there's too much light. But I want you to do this. of your study. So I want you to create an area or a niche of your study. Give a possible topic. Give a possible topic, sorry. Give a possible topic. Give a possible topic. Develop a 500 word concept paper for submission by Wednesday. But I think it's Wednesday is okay. Is it too early? No. By Wednesday next week. I don't know when it is. So this is a very simple thing. Yeah. All right. So that safely sees us wind up chapter 1. And of course, you have the class text for clarity, for reference. I'm also available. Okay. So you have read. So my promise is that my office, my team, my research team is going to going to send you the notes that we have been covering in class today. In fact, I'll just send this the way it is. I'll send this the way it is. So we'll send you all these notes in a few, and I hope it will help you with your chapter 1. Now, after that, I know you have done your chapter 2. You have read from your class book what we call, or what I'm calling, what you read, the literature review. And again, in the interest of time, I like engaging in this narrative because it opens up the doctoral student's mind, other than just asking them to read, to go and study. It opens their mind. And I'm hoping that as you are reading your literature review, some of these ideas, I'm hoping and I hope I'm not hoping against hope, some of these ideas must have come through your mind. And these are just collected ideas because you've already read the book as an assignment. So I'm not going to get into that. But as a good teacher, I keep on wondering, did they really read this? Did they capture this? Because I want them to be good in what they are doing. So all right. I think I just want us to read this together, and I'm going to send this to you again in a short while. These are additional notes from what you read. Hoping that we thoroughly read, and I'm just wondering whether I should do this because we have already read the literature review. I'm just wondering, this is a postgraduate class, so it should not be obvious. But maybe I read let's read. Can somebody pick up the first paragraph?
I can read.
Please go on.
So, getting started with a literature review. As we saw, the process of conducting research starts with clearly stating the project's purpose, asking a core research question, and defining a set of objectives to accomplish with the project. We learned in that chapter that very little research starts as a kind of tabula rasa, as a blank slate. Instead, nearly all research work, at least any research or evaluation work done in the public sector, is built on prior efforts at understanding some public policy or program questions or how individuals interact with such public systems. To understand what kind of prior research work has been done, either directly or indirectly related to the topic in question, one common way to become familiar with the existing knowledge in a research area is to produce a literature review. What is a literature review? A literature review is a reasonably comprehensive survey of previous research studies related to a specific research topic area. The scope and breadth of a literature review depends almost entirely on the needs of a project. If the research work is intended for an academic audience, the literature review is likely to be more extensive and to take note of certain types of studies, mainly other prior academic studies. If the work is intended for a practitioner audience, there is likely to be less of a need for anything approaching an exhaustive summary of prior work in the area, but in most cases, there will be sufficient treatment of prior research to give the report's readers a solid grounding in the key substantive issues being addressed. If the audience is an even narrower one, for example, the executives at a public or non-profit agency will be reading an evaluation report. The scope of a literature review depends on the needs of the report and the expectations of those key readers. Regardless of the nature of the audience, there are some basic functional elements common to a literature review. Those elements are considered below, along with some discussions of how to
Where are you?
take a research project.
No, we lost you.
Hello?
We lost you.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, go back.
Where did you lose me? At which point?
What? Just, I think the last sentence. Just go through the last sentence.
Okay. Regardless of the nature of the audience, there are some basic functional elements common to a literature review. Those elements are considered below, along with some discussion of how to capture source material and what source materials are typically relevant in understanding the basic substantive information needed to undertake a research project.
Yeah. So please just internalize what a review is a reasonably comprehensive survey of previous research studies related to a specific research topic area. And the scope and breadth of a literature review depends almost entirely on the needs of the project or what you are writing. The next reader will not go beyond purpose because of time. It's open.
Can read, Prof.
Good. Gloria?
Purpose of a literature review. Starting a research study report with some sort of discussion of prior theoretic and empirical work and findings, whether it be an applied research project report, an evaluation, or general purpose academic research, is a fairly basic norm or expectation. There are several different functional purposes that a literature review plays. First, it provides a substantive introduction to core issues associated with the research being presented in a report. For instance, if an evaluation report on a national strategy seeks to understand how interagency or intersector, that is, organizational interactions between government and nonprofits, coordination occurs, there is a large body of prior research on such questions. An evaluator providing a report to strategy would no doubt seek to highlight several critical operational and management issues and/or challenges on inter-organizational coordination and provide a review of prior findings about what works and what doesn't in that area. For class exercise, take an example of a policy research article published in an academic journal, such as the Policy Studies Journal, and compare it to a policy research report published by an agency like the Government Accountability Office. Compare and contrast how the background literature reviews are presented. A second functional purpose of the literature review is to explain to the reader why the research topic is important. This may seem obvious to the person or persons writing the report, but it is by no means obvious to many or most readers. It is important to recognize that research projects typically have a very narrow focus. Given that relatively few readers will have specialized knowledge of the particular issues covered by the report or research paper, the literature review provides a short educational purpose for the reader as to why the contents of the study matter, why they are important, and why the reader should pay attention to the results presented. A third function of the literature review is to provide a broader explanation of the context within which the research took place. Again, most readers will not have a comprehensive knowledge of the historical background for a given subject. The literature review can provide historical context so the reader can better understand the implications of key findings presented. Doing so also helps situate the research in a broader tradition of inquiry for a given subject area.
Thank you
Should
very
I proceed?
much. Yeah.
Okay.
The rest of the paper you read, I'm just summarizing what you have done. But after that, please note this vocabulary: annotated bibliography, dataset, field research, literature review, subject matter expert. Don't be like Kenyans. You see them on TV as subject matter experts and you wonder, what do they, can they demonstrate that? And even in their discussions, they are not demonstrating anything. Now, I want you to spend the next just 3 minutes reflecting on this. Just the next 3 minutes, and then we'll summarize the class for today. Let me blow this up. All this information is in the literature here. You'll get it in this literature. But I want you to read that and reflect on these questions. But I'm going to ask the coordinators to put you in groups to look at these discussion questions. And in the next class, we'll have presentations, and I don't want us to take too much time. So we'll have about just 8 group presentations. Magdalene, take that, 8 group presentations. And they will do about 6 slides on the 2 bullets for discussion. I just want to make sure that we know what a literature review is, the theoretical basis of a literature review, and then we can start going into chapter 2 and allowing you to craft your chapter 2 of the research proposal. Please continue reading your class text on literature review. Any worries somebody would like to raise, feeling uncomfortable? And this discussion would just be a common mark, usually 5 marks from my end, each discussion point, and it will be a group mark. You are being asked, Magdalene, how many assignments do we have due next week for this class?
So we have the one that we gave them last week, the one for theoretical, the one they're reading journals. So this one, and this will be the second one.
But they have already done the MCQ.
Okay. Maybe you should write that. Livingston, Makori.
I'll expect some clarity on the assignment since there are a number, probably to know which one we are submitting.
You know the one of Wednesday? Hiyo si unajulikana?
Yes, yes.
Which one is that, Makori? I want to be sure.
The one on Wednesday, we are submitting a 500-word document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just 500 words. On what?
Identify an area, niche of your study, give a possible topic.
Yeah, just that. I want to start working on your topics. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's important next week, Wednesday. Remember the highlighting and annotation. You remember that?
Yeah.
And then this discussion. All this should be in next, but the one of the topic and the concept paper by Wednesday, because I need to mark it for the class on Saturday. All right?
Okay.
Any other person not clear?
Professor,
Yes.
just for clarity, there's an assignment that's due on 4th of April, and it says we state our proposed research topic, we write a brief introduction to the background, and we identify 3 journal articles. These 2 assignments are distinct, right?
Yeah, they're distinct.
Okay.
Yeah, very distinct. And this is actually, for me, I just want, as I conclude this topic, each one of you knows the area of study, their topic, and that I can now react to it. If I have Wednesday, if I have this, let me put it this way, can I have this by Wednesday midnight? I promise to plow through those topics so that on Saturday morning we have everybody getting their feedback on their topic.
Prof, maybe Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. Because if it's midnight, then we go to Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Magdalene.
So I think there are some who had already given their topics previously. Before we give them the assignment that is due on 4th, which also carries the research area and the topic they are discussing. If those
minus journal articles.
Yes, so but it is part of the assignment we gave them last week. So the other one that I shared with them are linked. Some of them are given their topics and the area of research, and probably that can be a basis for the one now due on Wednesday. If they can still go back to the link and still continue with the other assignment, they can just submit the topic and the area of study for your use during the class when you're helping them with the topics. Because I didn't close the link.
And the one of the journal articles?
Then they continue with the one for journal articles that is due on 4th.
Okay.
Because we are thinking that this one, the one they're giving is part of their that will support them to continue with the 4th one. So they submit the Wednesday one, and it's not an assignment, it's now an area you're focusing on. As they improve now, it helps them to do the assignment because then you'll have made some adjustments on their topics and their objectives.
That's okay. That's okay. Everybody in class, are we okay?
Yeah, for the groups, what we shall do, we shall, on the WhatsApp group, we can put 10 groups, probably alphabetically, the names, the way they are appearing in the portal, so that now we have 10 groups no, around 8 groups. So we shall use the alphabetical order in the portal.
Yeah, all I want is my discussion questions done, and I've said 6 slides. What they will have come
6
up
slides. Okay.
Yeah, just to consolidate the whole idea of literature review. That's all I'm looking for. Denisa?
Good morning, Prof. I wanted to ask, there's an assignment that we submitted earlier in February, on the pages 42 to 53. I wanted to ask when we will get
Feedback. You're cutting, can't hear you.
Okay, I was saying there's an assignment that we did in February based on pages 42 to 53. So I wanted to ask when we will be getting the feedback or the grades so we can sort of see where our coursework and
Magdalene,
how we're actually doing.
Take note of that, Magdalene.
Okay, sir.
Okay, we'll get back to you.
Prof, I was just wondering whether it is good also to the students can know that after this class ends on 19th, they will continue with the seminars probably next semester, as so that now they start preparing to know that they will have seminars coming up to ensure they complete the research. Research never ends here. It can't end this semester.
No, it can't. My aim was to get these people to have chapter 1 and 2.
Right.
And I think we'll make it. And then next semester we'll have a seminar on chapter 3, how to write it, the aspects, and then we prepare them for the defenses.
Yes, and it's not going to cost you an extra cost payment on Daystar, no. It's just that this is now how Prof ensures that you are well-grounded in research, even though you'll not pay for this particular seminar that he continues, but then you'll have to continue attending so that you can able to complete now your chapter 4 and 5, because by end of this semester, you'll have your proposal almost ready and writing up your proposal. So, so that now you know that chapter 4, chapter 5 will be continued next semester on a day that all of you must be able to attend, because then without that one, you can't complete. You'll notice that the number of research hours given to research are very few. And it's actually the Prof now has to come in and ensure that you go through research for almost 3 semesters to be able to do a very good defense and also be grounded outside the Daystar environment.
Okay. Moses, I want to get going. Moses, yes? Go ahead.
Thank you, Prof. From all these discussions, I don't seem to get the assignments that are due, what we are supposed to do. One of the things that, like, was it last week or the week before, we submitted our topics, the introduction, the 1.1 part of the proposal or the research topic. And I mean, ideally, it would be appreciable if we got feedback on those topics, so that either when we are going to the next steps or the next sub-chapters, then we are able to refine based on the feedback, because whatever we shared was based on our initial thoughts. So asking us to share the next sub-chapters before we get feedback on that, I believe is not.
No, it's okay. Let me show you what let me just hold on, Carol.
Prof, if you want just a minute, the Gmail. I wanted you to pull down your Gmail page.
Yeah, just a minute. I want to get something correct here. I think we are not in the frame of mind I want to be in. So let me give you an example. For you just to see the magnitude of what I go through to get you to where I want to go. These things will all come. They'll come. I want you to look at this. And I'm glad, and no offense taken, by the way. I'm glad that you're asking these questions. I don't know whether you can see this screen. Are you able to see the screen, this one?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. This is
Yes, you
my
can just expand, yes.
this is my master's class. This is the master's class. And this is what I have to do for each one of you. That's why, like, this student is Meshak Njiro. This is cohort 2, research area of interest and topic. So they give me their topic, this one. They give me the concept, very brief for what they want to study. They give me the topic. I have to go through this topic and give them alternative topics, what I want to do with you. So this is like this person, I've given the topic, I'm giving this as an alternative 2, 3, 4. Then I go to, this was, 2, 3. Then I go to Hilary Kipchumba. This is his topic. I give him alternatives, 1, and justification, why I think they should go there, 2, 3. Then Makuba, like that. These are about 100 and, I don't know what. Right now, I am on student number.
Yes. You want 30 something?
Let me see where I am. I just want
there are 152 students.
I just want the class to appreciate when I talk about assignments, I'm not taking them in just for the sake of it. So for example, this class, I am on candidate number 33. And I still have another, call it 60 that I've submitted. So I don't want to mark ticks. And when I said, give me your topic, your area, and 3 journal articles, then I'm also asking you to do what I've said. I'm going to use those 2, your 2 suggestions for topic. And I have to search, and I'm not generating this myself. You see, I'm searching. I'm mining like this topic, establish how leadership affects the performance of public secondary schools in Kakamega. I'm suggesting, why don't we say influence of principals, leadership styles, and student academic achievement in public secondary schools. I'm removing Kakamega North for reasons I've just told you. I'm making the topic universal. In mining, I find a similar topic, University of Nairobi repository and ResearchGate 1. So I'll send this student to look at this. This is what we want to do. Then it will be meaningful. So there is no redundancy here. I have a motive. I know where I want to go. And when I'm asking you for the 3 journal articles, I am going to search those 3 journal articles and see whether they're appropriate or not. So there's quite a bit of work to be done. I want you to appreciate. We'll give you the feedback, but we want to give you meaningful feedback. And note that I have the 8 of you here and that 120 the other side. But I'll go through it. I have no problem. I just that I've not had time to sit in my study for 3 days running. I'll finish them. Yeah. Does that help?
No, so maybe Prof. Magdalene and myself and Makunda, we just need to summarize the assignments and say this one was submitted in February, this is for this particular day, so that they can be sure that these are what they are, because you already posted them, but we can summarize and send that summary so that the students are sure which assignments are ahead of them.
Okay,
but
Carol, hold on. Yeah. I wanted, there's a student who raised a concern. Does it help? Does this help what we are trying to do? The student who had raised the question about feedback. Can't remember.
Danita.
No, it was not even Danita. Okay, it was two of them had raised the issue. Does this help you see what we are trying to do here? And that by the time I give you the sum feedback, you already have your topic.
Yeah, Prof, it was myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you are projecting provides a good overview of feedback. The same thing that I was hoping that we would get before proceeding to the next steps.
There is no redundancy. So we'll get you your feedback, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Prof. Any
Okay.
questions?
Caroline, Teti?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Prof, Dr. Caroline just wanted to make a request. While we all here, may we request that you just put us into breakout rooms? It will be very quick for us to know our group members so we can take off from this class knowing where we belong. Because I think people will get into, different commitments. And the week is a really short one and we have lots of assignments.
Fair enough. I think also we can use this as a criteria for random random 8 groups so that wherever you fall, that becomes your group, and now you can decide to pick up a group lead. That's fair enough. We can do that when the VC causes us to pick up a flight. We can do that. You don't leave, please.
Maybe as I finish, Collins Odhiambo has raised an interesting point. He says this: having a class of almost 100 PhD students is a bit outstretching. The class should have been divided into 2 or 3. That's interesting. And I want to submit, even when I was at Moy University, there was Professor Ayiro, there was Professor Tor, and somebody else. We were about 4. We were only 4 professors teaching research methods in the university. When I see PhD students, it is very easy to break up these classes and say, let us divide and teach. It's very easy. But, at what level do you want these PhD students to operate at? That's why we have advertised for 2 positions of a full professor of research methods and an associate professor. We have already interviewed for the full professors. We're interviewing for the associate professors this week so that they can help me with the load. But it's just conscience. You have a conscience. And I've seen the struggles we have had in Daystar, not even in completion of PhDs and masters. By the way, this change in trends has come after a lot of work in the last 4 or 5 years, and it calls for sacrifice. But I would love to have, 30 of you would do a good job. But these are the limitations, and they're not just in Daystar. They're across the country. That's why watu wanachukua 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, then they give up. So this is, Collins, I hear what you're saying. But let me assure you, I believe in, I have a completion factor mentality. I believe if I'm taking this class, I want by the time I finish with you next semester, you all have a proposal. If we are scattered, you'll be surprised. Maybe 10% of you will graduate in 3 years' time. That's not our intention. So there are many intricacies, nuances, and please appreciate. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe just Prof to add, during COVID, the country is going through a crisis, and we had so many students who are not learning research. Prof took upon himself to teach every single weekend over 500 students across the country. And believe you me not, that was the only research they learned. They had never learned and they may never learn. And that is what we did the whole of COVID, 2020, 2021, 2022, taking up a responsibility to take over the whole country and have students from all over without pay and for free. And therefore, if we scatter students in groups, they come up with a very different way of understanding research. And we have people who can't construct a problem because some people who teach research in many universities are not professors of research. They're simply, you do communication and you think you can teach research, or you do mathematics and think you can teach research. Research is a very scientific area to be able to be taken by very few people. Believe me that we had many professors shortlisted for this interview, but not, very few out of the many who applied could only be granted research. So we need to really appreciate efforts, and dividing classes will always make it difficult for any students learning research. We'll have different people coming out differently, just as most of you keep appreciating. You don't know whether you learn research, it's just that you're now understanding research now. So we appreciate the effort of the VC there. Thank you.
As we finish, I'm glad you have reminded me on that. In fact, Caro, you should let the students know we had 77 universities across the world. And those classes would go up to 700, 800 students. During that COVID area, and the classes were recorded. You can get into them. So let's do it this way as we wait for more staff, and then we'll divide. But not this class. I would like to go with this class until you have your proposals, and I know why. Thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Self-Price Prof. Let me make some groups for all of us, then join your group and you can decide on your leader. Give me just about 1 minute to create the groups. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, feel free to share now as we create these groups. I don't know what is happening. I thought I'm the one who began the class, so I'm trying to create groups. Wow. All right. Magda, can you see the button on your side? I don't know whether because for some reason.
Clicking groups.
Yeah, breakaway rooms. I'm not sure. I'm the one hosting. Or you're the one?
You are the one who started you are the host.
How come I can't access the create groups button? I've been looking for it as people were talking. Someone is lifting their hand. You can ask a question. There's no problem.
Yeah, Dr. And there were some previously existing groups, and I think we have already done some assignment for other classes. Can that be of helpful?
How many groups? We can take one if you want. We retain it. How many groups?
Probably for us, we are not aware of those groups.
Because people are coming from different
even
fields.
as we are not aware of the groups.
New groups would amount for this. Probably.
Yeah, because these are different students, because all of us are from different fields, and some of us are not in that, so we may not be able to have. It's just that I've lost my create group. I should end this live recording now. I don't know why even I'm